Good evening. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Education. This October 16th, 2023, at the Indian Hills High School cafeteria. Ms. Zeno or Ms. Demetria, may I have the roll call?
Mr. Bogdansky.
Here.
Mr. DeLate.
Here.
Ms. Emilo.
Here.
Ms. King.
Here.
Ms. Koulikoudis.
Here.
Dr. Lorenz.
Here.
Ms. Mariani. Here. Ms. Sanch.
Here.
Ms. Sullivan.
Here, thank you. I'd like to request now a motion for entry into closed session as follows. The board shall recess to closed session in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, New Jersey Stat Annotated 10:4-12B. The general nature of the discussion will involve personnel, student-related matters, and matters confidential by law, and any investigations or tactics or techniques to protect persons or litigation, anticipated litigation, and attorney-client matters. These matters will be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer applies. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Bogdansky, thank you. I have a
Second.
Who was that? Mr. DeLate, was that you? Yes.
Mr. Bogdansky. Mr. DeLate.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikoudis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Sanch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, so we will go into executive session. We will return as soon as possible. Thank you. Good evening. I'm reconvening the public meeting portion of the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Education this October 16th, 2023. I'm going to do the board president's announcement first. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Business Administrator Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in accordance with New Jersey Stat Annotated 10:4-8B and guidance from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services. In addition, please be aware that employees of the school district retain the right of privacy and shall retain all rights regarding defamation and slander. According to the laws of New Jersey, the board shall not be held liable for comments made by members of the public, and in order to protect the privacy rights of employees in the district, the board shall not respond to statements made by the public of or about district employees. May I have the roll call, Ms. Demetrio, to reconvene in public?
Mr. Bogdansky.
Here.
Mr. Delay.
Here.
Ms. Emilo.
Here.
Ms. King.
Here.
Ms. Colacortis.
Here.
Dr. Lorenz.
Here.
Ms. Mariani.
Here.
Ms. Sanch.
Here.
Ms. Sullivan.
Here. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that leads to our board president's report and our student board representatives. We have Sophia Del Buno from Ramapo High School and Cassandra Heinsohn from Indian Hills High School. And I'll leave it up to you both as to who will go first.
Hi, I hope everybody had a nice weekend. So to start off with sports, the fall season is already coming to a close. This is the final full week of the regular season. Football has won 2 out of their last 3 games. This past Friday, they scored 35 points on their senior night. Senior running back Joe Cortez set the single-game rushing record 2 weeks ago, rushing for 245 yards against Memorial High School. The team is looking to close out the season with a few more wins and to end with their best record since 2015. The cheer team has been bringing the energy at every football game. Bad weather doesn't stop these girls. They just adapt and overcome it. Coach Rigitiano and her staff have these girls ready to go every week, and we look forward to watching them finish the season off strong. Girls tennis was displaced at the start of the year due to their high school courts being replaced, but what a great job the team has done since then. They opened the new courts with victory and only got better from there. They're ending with an even better record than last year, and they also have had 3 teams make the semifinals at the Bergen Invitational Tennis Tournament. Second singles, Sam Marker. First doubles, Morgan Wickwire and Julia Feroz. And second doubles, Ava Tuttle and Kalina Piella, all made it to the second weekend of the tournament. Gymnastics had another tremendous year. No leotards brought energy from the start of the season, and the girls rode out that energy throughout the year. They just competed in the Bergen County tournament and finished 3rd overall, and they still have the state tournament to compete in and will look to make an impact there. Cross country yet again just dominated in the Big North Batch Meet and the Bergen County Group Championships. The boys team swept the Batch Meet and just finished with a perfect score. Senior Danny Phillips finished 1st overall at the Batch Meet and took 1st place for Group C at the championships. Girls volleyball has a giant group of seniors and is looking to close out the season on a positive note. The season has been up and down, but that hasn't deterred our group. Everything they have been through this season will benefit them once the NJSIAA tournament comes around, and they aim to win a sectional title. The boys soccer team has taken a 4-14 record from a year ago, and they now sit at a 6-6-2 record already this year. The boys play hard at each game and are always in it. The tough losses will give them the experience they need to perform well in the state tournament. And lastly, for sports, girls soccer has had the best turnout out of any program. With the addition of a new coach this year, the team also added 11 new members to their roster. With a strong core of seniors, the team has almost doubled their win total from last year and is looking to make noise come state tournament time. For student life and extracurriculars, Interact and Real Life for Life just held a successful car wash this past weekend at the school to raise money for cancer patients. The Powder Puff teams have also submitted all their forms, and Student Council is in the process of forming teams and choosing shirt colors for each teams. All the teams have begun practicing on their own, and we're all super excited about this event. And then lastly, the World Language National Honor Society has just sent out invitations for qualifying seniors. Interested seniors are in the process of applying for the selective program. For guidance, Instant Decision Day is going to be held on November 15th, and our guidance counselors are currently helping out interested seniors with their applications. Also, AP exam registration is now out, so students are encouraged to register for their exams by November 12th. And the school college visits are continuing to run, and many seniors and juniors are attending their colleges of interest. And lastly, for student government, the 8th grade open house last week was a huge success. We had so many enthusiastic 8th graders who were truly excited to learn about all that Indian Hills has to offer. We're planning a spirit week during the week of Halloween, so we're planning from Monday to be pajama day, Tuesday is Halloween, Wednesday is flannel day, Thursday is country versus country club day, and Friday is Jersey day. We're trying to hype everybody up to dress up. And lastly, both Indian Hills and Ramapo High School Student Council are going to have a superintendent meeting tomorrow for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. To start off with sports, football had their senior night last Friday and played against Old Japan and won 31-24. Their record is now 7-0 and plays against Ridgewood this Friday away. Boys soccer played Bosco yesterday for the semifinals in counties and won 1-0. Their record is now 10-2, and their next game is home tomorrow against Pascack Valley at 7 p.m. They play Ramsey in the semifinals for counties this Saturday at 7 p.m. Girls soccer is having a good season with a record of 9-4-1. Their next game is Saturday home against Fairlawn at 12 p.m. Girls volleyball is 11-6 and beat Hackensack today 2-0, and their next game is Wednesday at 4:15 against Hills. Cross country just competed at the County Group Championship, where the girls team finished third in Group A and qualified for Bergen County Meet of Champions. Ryan Welch qualified for BMOC as an individual with his 10th place finish at the group meet. Girls tennis is having an amazing season with a record of 13-1. Their next match is tomorrow versus Tenafly home for the NJSIAA tournament final round, North Jersey Section 1, Group 3. Gymnastics won counties and is 5-2, and their next match is tomorrow against Roxbury at 4:30. For student life and extracurricular, Model UN and the Movie Club met today. Italian Club and Rampage Business are meeting tomorrow after school, and the swim team interest meeting is on Wednesday at 3:30 in room 905. For student life, help support the class of 2025 and order dinner to go. Order by Wednesday, October 18th for pickup at RHS on Tuesday, October 24th between 4:30 and 5:30. Dinner supplied by Luigi's Pizza and Restaurant in Ringwood. 8th grade open house is this Thursday at 7 p.m. on October 19th. PSAT was last week, and during this time, seniors were given a breakfast and went outside to play games, along with a guest speaker. On Tuesday, October 24th, is Senior Sunrise at 6:45 a.m. on the football field. Senior portrait makeups are scheduled on Monday and Tuesday, October 30th and 31st. Winter sport forms are due Wednesday, November 1st. Anthropology students are excited to be visiting the Bronx Zoo this Friday. APTS meeting is Thursday the 19th at 8 p.m. in the Little Theater. AP Econ students are visiting Port Newark for infrastructure and supply chain. And Friday the 27th is aviation students are traveling to Newark Liberty Airport. For guidance, the PSAT test administration was facilitated by guidance for students 9th through 11th graders on Wednesday. This was the first time for an all-digital test administration. College admissions representatives continue to be hosted by guidance. Information sessions are open to all 11th and 12th graders. Guidance is working with current 12th graders to support the submission of early and enrolling application deadlines. Guidance has established a number of instant decision day opportunities for 12th graders. Please check your email to see the terms and contact your counselor to register. Wellness Wednesday is back this week, and the RRIH College panel will be held on Monday, October 23rd, featuring admission counselors from Bucknell, Michigan State, Ramapo College, San Diego, etc. All students and parents are welcome to attend. For student government, we had a fundraiser to raise money for a school that we adopted in Maui, and we raised over $1,500, and the last day to donate money is this Tuesday. We are finishing up our candy sale. We are meeting with Miss Montesation at the end of the month. We partnered with Boosters to create new student section sign for the student section down by the field. And we will be meeting with Indian Hills and the superintendent tomorrow for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That leads to the board president's report as the next item. I wanted to just point the audience's and the board's attention to item P1, which is the board's proposal for voting tonight to appoint James C. Baker, Dr. James C. Baker, as the new interim superintendent. As you know, Dr. Dionisio's resignation will be effective the 12th of November. And I want to thank the board for all the efforts and meetings that we have done over the past couple of weeks. It was a lot of work and a lot of late nights, and we did first interviews, we did second interviews, and just want to thank everybody for working very hard to come up with this proposal. Dr. James C. Baker, it's item P1. I also want to just say that we're all very excited that the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District will have 4 board members attending the New Jersey School Boards Conference next week. I attended virtually in the past, but I've never attended in person. So Miss Mariani, Miss Anch, myself, and Miss Emilo will be attending and representing the Ramapo Regional High School District. And so we're very excited about that. That's next week. So, so I just wanted to report out on those 2 items. Oh, there's an addenda too on the agenda. If anybody wants information on that, it's in yellow. It's in the back of the room, I believe, on the table where the agendas are. And that's all I have. So that leads to our superintendent's report. Dr. Dionisio?
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Zeno, our business administrator, interim board secretary. She's going to, at this time, have our alternate students do the oath as student representatives, as alternates to the Board of Education. So we welcome them both. Maybe we could come here so that way we can hear in public and our students can be heard.
Thank you. Again, welcome. You'll be serving as the alternate student representatives for the Board of Education. I would like each of you to read the oath of office one at a time, and then if you could sign it, you'll join us.
I, Zarina Admani, do solemnly swear that I will follow the Board of Education policy in fulfilling my role as student representative to this Board of Education.
I, Michaela Chamberlain, do solemnly swear that I will follow the Board of Education policy in fulfilling my role as a student representative to this Board of Education.
Congratulations.
All right.
Welcome and congratulations to Michaela and Zareen. At this time, I'm going to ask if she's ready. Ms. Zeno, would you like to continue with your report, or would you like me to go first, and then I'll turn it over to you after the presentation? Okay. All right, so I'll just move on to the superintendent report. I'll turn it over to Ms. Zeno momentarily. We do have a presentation tonight by Ms. Fisher, our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Articulation, and we'll be presenting that on the NJSLA assessment performance. But before we get there, first I'd like to just congratulate our student representatives again. Let's give them another round of applause for their service and dedication. So we appreciate you being here tonight, so thank you for taking the time out. We look forward to working with you. I would just like to echo some of our students' statements first. The Indian Hills 8th grade open house that was held last Thursday was a resounding success. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our teachers, to our students, to administrators, and our support staff who played a pivotal role in ensuring that this event left a positive impression on our rising freshman students for the upcoming school year for 24-25. This Thursday, Ramapo High School is set to host their open house event, welcoming all families that are interested in attending. So thank you to everyone who makes those events possible for our community. I would like to draw everyone's attention to our agenda this evening. This is typically something we do every single year. Education portion E11. That states, move to approve the NJDOE school self-assessment for determining grades under the anti-bullying Bill of Rights Act for the 22-23 district and school grade report. Both Ramapo and Indian Hills High Schools conducted the annual self-assessment for determining grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. The school safety specialists and their teams have completed the self-assessment accurately based on the criteria and the available documentation toward the school's efforts at implementing the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act in the designated areas. The self-assessment will then be now reviewed by the Commissioner of Education, who will assign a final grade to each school from these self-assessments, which will then be posted on the district's homepage and on each school's website within 10 days receipt from the New Jersey Department of Education. We do have the HIB self-assessment reports that are up for the past 2 years on the district website, and when we receive the final report from the Commissioner of Education, we will upload those as well. My next item that I would like to update everyone on is the status of the rotating drop schedule. Since January, this endeavor has been under review with input from our staff and students and has undergone previous exploration on multiple occasions in years past. Over the last several weeks, the administration had an opportunity to continue to discuss the current proposal with our staff and to present the status to our Board of Education for additional feedback before hosting our community presentations. This past Tuesday, I informed the Board of Education that I would not be recommending the new schedule to be able to provide more time for the district to plan for this initiative. I want to thank all of the members of our committees and leadership team and our staff and our students for their participation. I'd like to especially thank members of our joint cabinet, which are comprised of our supervisors and administrators, all of the members of our strategic plan steering committee over the 1+ year that we were engaged in very meaningful and lofty work. I would like to also thank the scheduling exploration committee, as well as Ms. McDermott, our director of curriculum, who spearheaded and oversaw that initiative with site visits to multiple schools and engaging in feedback from our community stakeholders with our staff. I would like to thank our faculty and staff during faculty meetings and department meetings to be able to engage and to be able to give feedback around meaningful conversations for the potential for a new schedule. The district is positioned to continue to build upon this foundation from everyone's efforts. This is an incredible amount of great work that has been done. There's more work that needs to be done. So at this point, we will not be making the recommendation to move it forward at this time. We'll leave that for the new superintendent and the administration and the Board of Education to pick up where we left off and to continue to be able to move that work forward. At this time, before we get to Ms. McDermott's presentation on the NJ SLA assessment, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Zeno, who has her business administrator report update, and then we will break for the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Dionisio. I just have 2 brief comments to share with the board and the public. The last couple of weeks, the auditors were in the business office conducting their annual audit. They had done a lot of the review remotely because we sent them all the documents, or not me, our very excellent business office staff sent it to them. And their preliminary result is that while the audit will not be finalized until later this year, due to other required information from the state, once again, thanks to the district's very capable support staff, the preliminary audit results, as conveyed by the auditor, looks to once again yield an excellent outcome. So, none of that was my work, so I will not take any credit, but you have a really good business office staff. And, And then the other subject that I'd like to make a comment on has to do with the board minutes that were not approved at the prior meeting. They were the minutes of August 1st and August 28th, were not approved by a majority of the board. Presumably, it was due to additional comments added to the minutes, not under my hand, but which may not accurately reflect what was stated during the meeting. Tonight, I am asking the board, even though it's already on your agenda, I'm asking the board to hold or table these minutes until I have an opportunity to review and update the verbiage in the minutes. If I am granted that opportunity, the minutes will be updated to reflect a summary of subjects discussed. As a reminder, minutes should contain a record of what was done and not what was said by the board members. Again, they're not verbatim minutes. You have the opportunity to look at the video if you so desire, but it's really a reflection of the formal action, voting on personnel, operations, and financial items such like that you're voting on. It's not the other narrative that's included in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zeno. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to just be patient for a few minutes. Our IT department is going to help us transition for the presentation, and Ms. McDermott, I'm going to welcome her as our Director of Curriculum for our NJSLA assessment presentation tonight. And for the board, there are seats in the front that are reserved so that way everybody could see. And at this time, I'm going to excuse our students. If you have homework that you need to tend to, you're more than welcome to stay, but if you have homework to tend to, you're free to leave at this point. Thank you.
This isn't our normal setup, so I just need a second. This is on. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Is this on? Is this on? Okay, great. Just be that close. Tonight, I'm going to present on the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, which the 9th grade students took for their ELA and math. They sat for the assessment in the math class that they were assigned to, Algebra 1, Geometry, or Algebra 2. And our grade 11 students were administered the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment in Science. In the years past, this presentation may have had graphs and charts, but meaningful trend analysis is only really meaningful if you have 3 or more years of data. Therefore, you're not going to see that on this presentation, but next year will be the first year we have it since the pandemic had a little bit of gap in this particular assessment. Our juniors also took the NJGPA in March of 2023 to measure their readiness in ELA and math. The data was released to the district over the summer, and I made a presentation on that particular data on the July 24th board meeting. So if you're interested in that 11th grade data, you can see the board presentation either on video or it is posted up on the website. In order for us to have some parameters for accurate reporting, the state says that the sample size has to be an N number of 10 or more. In order for us to report on a specific subgroup, and this is really designed to protect student privacy, as we would not want to be able to identify any individual students based on the available information. Therefore, as we review the data, there are some subgroup information that will not be shared publicly tonight. Overall, we have incredibly high rates of participation in our testing, thanks to the support of our community and the administrators that organize the testing itself, as well as the makeups. These are the scoring guidelines for the NJSLA. Depending on the ELA or math assessment, the number that indicates meets or exceeded expectations fluctuates and can be seen with greater certainty on each individual score report, which were mailed home to students. This is a sample of an individual score report, or an ISR, from the state, and this one is in particular for math. So on the individual student report, you can see how the student compares to the school, the district, and the state on how well they did. On the back, there's some additional information about that particular assessment. Since this is a math example, it outlines the student's performance on the mastery of the major and supporting content, while also looking at the skills of expressing mathematical reasoning and modeling and application. This just gives a parent a better idea of the areas of strength and the areas of improvement for your particular student. The following results are the administration of the English assessment for grade 9. Scores at the level 4 or level 5 are an indication that a student is meeting or exceeding expectations. Therefore, we have about 62% of our students in the district indicating that they are at or above grade level expectations. When the data is broken down by ethnicity of subgroups, we can see that the Asian students outperform their counterparts in terms of mastery. As mentioned earlier, the number of valid scores for American Indian, Alaskan Native, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, and 2 or more races cannot be reported since it is less than 10 students. This slide has 2 separate subgroups represented: students with disabilities and those that are economically disadvantaged. And we can see they are not performing as well as their classmates on this particular assessment. When looking at individual student results, we'll explore how to move students from partially meeting to approaching, and from approaching to meeting expectations through our instructional practices. We will also explore the students that are performing at the not yet meeting expectations category and examine their skills in class to determine how to best address the gaps and support their learning. One of our ELA achievements at the district and school levels results are above the state. We will examine the results of our department meetings to share instructional resources, collaborate on findings, and develop cross-curricular strategies that will meet the individual needs of the students. And also we'll analyze our performance in the future against comparable districts rather than just the state once those results are released. One important aspect to note is that by the time that we get a lot of this data, it's really challenging to make large-scale structural changes in that particular school year. So therefore, the data that we received last year from the NJSLA was used to inform programmatic decisions that were implemented during this particular school year. So our goal is to see these positive results from those changes with the next administration in the spring. So I want to share some of those things that really helped us drive some of those changes and that students are participating in this particular school year. One of the biggest ones is that we took the grade 9 ELA class that was 7.5 credits and broke it up into a 5-credit course and then a 2.5 credit literacy lab where the students meet with a teacher every other day. And we had evaluated that curriculum throughout the school year last year with our teachers. We made that change in the program of studies, and then we were able to write that curriculum a little bit in the spring and over the summer to really have 2 really independent classes, still focusing on literacy skills for our students, but with 2 really different approaches. We are also able to support for all of our grade 9 students the in-class resource model for that 5-credit course to provide further support for our special education students. We also developed a professional development goal to increase exposure and engagement with informational texts across the curriculum and utilize effective reading strategies to improve students' ability to comprehend, analyze, and derive meaning from informational text. We supported that through our Title IIA funds, which are really grant funds to support professional development. So part of that was looking at ways that we can bring all of our content area teachers together. We hired a consultant, and she's going to be coming in on those half-day professional development days. We just had one last week, where we had our content-specific teachers come in to learn about shared strategies that can be used across all of our different classrooms to really reinforce how to teach those informational text approaches with all of our students. We also utilized our Title I-A funds to purchase Common Lit, which is a comprehensive online tool that utilizes data, benchmark assessments, and standards-based questions to support students' individual development. It really allows for a lot of personalization, especially for our multilingual learners. It can translate the text into multiple different languages, so they have the English and their native language there for them to be able to access it a little bit better. And we also can support our students with disabilities with different accommodations like text-to-speech, varied text levels, and other abilities and resources there. The district will also continue the after-school assistance program and continue the Summer Learning Academy to support development on those essential skills. As mentioned, all of our grade 9 students sat for the assessment that aligned with the class that they were enrolled in, Algebra 1, Geometry, or Algebra 2. For the Algebra 1 assessment, the majority of students fell into the approaching expectations category. Our supervisors and teachers will work to review the reports to determine what specific skills and standards need to be spiraled into the next course to work on those algebraic skills and continually develop their mathematical reasoning. When we look at the populations of students as ethnic or racial subgroups, the reportable groups do not deviate far from the district average of 32.2%. The major difference can be seen with students that have an IEP. The main work will to further examine the data to see how we can support growth from partially meeting to approaching and from approaching to meeting expectations. With many ninth graders taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade, our ninth graders that are enrolled in geometry tend to have some stronger math skills. The strength can be seen with achieving well above the state average of 62.3% for geometry. The number of students in this course limits the data that we can report about various subgroups. Students enrolled in Algebra 2 are our most advanced math students, since they took both Algebra 1 and geometry in middle school. That level of achievement is reflected in 92% of the students meeting or exceeding expectations. This is truly a wonderful accomplishment, considering that they are compared to other ninth grade students taking Algebra 2 across the state. And again, the number of students in this course limits the data we can report about various subgroups. Our main achievement is that the geometry in Algebra 2 surpassed the state average for both the district and school level. The department has focused on doing math and utilizing their collaborative meeting time to address student needs and making curricular and instructional improvements. Our strategy has been the infusion of online resources and teacher-generated practices to individualize learning, support practice, and develop areas for further intervention. Similar to the data that we presented on ELA, these larger changes in interventions were really informed by last year's data and implemented with this class this fall. One of the major changes similar for the Algebra 1 CP class, it was a 7.5 credit class, and we broke that up into a 5 credit course and a 2.5 credit lab. The 5 credit course similarly is also supported through our in-class resource model to provide even further support for our special education students. Similarly, we developed a professional development goal to focus on mathematical concepts. And to support that goal, we utilized our Title I-A funds to purchase ALEX, which is a program that aligns to the textbook for Algebra 1. And then we realized that we do really want to continue to support our students in geometry and Algebra 2, not just our ninth grade, but everyone across the board. So we purchased Delta Math, which is going to be able to support students in all of their all their math courses. Similar to Common Lit, those programs are adaptive in nature, so they allow students to really practice and have the very intelligent computer, give them like kind of the next problem that they should be working on, gives information back to the teachers about how they can individualize their support and really make sure that the students' skills are being scaffolded and met to where they need to. The district will also look to continue the after-school academic assistance as well, and also continue the Summer Learning Academy. The science assessment was administered in the spring to 11th grade students and is a comprehensive assessment that reviews all areas of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for science. Unlike math and ELA, the science assessment is scored on a 4-level scale. Our 11th graders outperformed the state with 41.1% of them achieving proficient or advanced proficiency. The major difference can be seen with students that have an IEP. The main work will be to further examine the data to see how we can support growth from below proficient to moving them to meeting expectations. The science department has a clear focus on really doing science. They are looking to continue students conducting labs and student-centered experiences, and the staff also uses technology for data collection, investigation, and research. One of the really challenging things about this particular assessment is that there isn't a 4-year mandated graduation requirement for science, so there's not a lot of remediation that we can do with this particular group as they move into grade 12. It really informs the practices that we do with our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students so that we can continually improve. The department will also take a look at these results alongside other assessments like PSAT or AP scores as well to really inform our instruction, as well as to support our special education students to have a lot more consistent communication between the special education department and the science department so that we are able to really articulate best practices for all of our students. Science will also continue to support students in the after-school academic assistance as well, and we had a lot of interest in students with their Summer Learning Academy signups for science last year. The last assessment we have for tonight is our access assessment for ELs. Children identified as multilingual learners, that's going to be a shift that we start to make from our English language learners to multilingual learners. The state really just redid all of the code around that, so we're going to try to continue to use that language within the district. So children identified as multilingual learners take an English language proficiency test every year. And the testing helps teachers understand a student's language skills, tracks a student's progress in learning academic English, and helps schools decide what English language supports are needed for their students. A language proficiency level is a measurement of where students are in the ongoing process of building language skills. And you can see this one's broken down into many different categories of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and then further categorizing them as oral language or literacy with the reading and writing component and comprehension. When students reach the highest levels of language proficiency, they no longer need language support services. Through these results, you can see that our current multilingual population is developing, which means they know and use social English and some specific academic language with visual and graphic support. This information is critical to provide differentiated instruction for all of our students so they can be appropriately challenged and continue to develop their language skills. Over the past few years, we have developed a supportive multilingual team with increased collaboration with our regular education teachers. In the past year, there have been professional developments for our general education teachers so they can better learn how to support all students in their classroom setting. The team is also looking to increase opportunities for our multilingual population to become involved in the school community and really immerse themselves in school culture, foster friendship, and develop their social language skills. Our multilingual team has really been tremendous over the past year, has really worked to make sure that our students are getting the support they need across all of their core classes and really offering up a lot of time even after school to help support one another and making sure these kids are getting what they need in our classroom. our focus has really been on the WIDA's can-do standards, really focusing on the positives of what the students can do, and provides a lot of examples and structure for all of our teachers so they know what students can do at the various different language proficiencies so they understand what they can expect. We've also continued our practice of offering our English for Other Languages class for students as a 1 period, as a 2 period, and then also kind of giving a hybrid to allow students to also audit a general education English class to make sure that they're getting what they need in terms of the support within their daily schedule for continued language development. Just kidding, I was changing my paper. The district also developed a professional development goal around promoting equitable opportunities for all students to support their academic and social success. And some of the ways that we've really done that is taking a look at the courses that our students were being placed in and thinking about, does that really give them an equitable environment? So our lowest really level of math here for graduation requirement is Algebra 1. So our students were being placed into an Algebra 1 course. Some of these students have had breaks in their traditional education and therefore weren't ready to do Algebra 1. So between collaboration with our math department and our multilingual team, we have developed assessments that they can take to see have they really mastered 3rd grade math, 4th grade math, 5th grade, and are able to support them in this multilingual pre-algebra course so that they can really be caught up with the skills necessary so they can be successful as they move into the graduation requirements the following years of Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. We've also developed a multilingual chemistry class. If anyone else isn't really the strongest in science like myself, I think learning chemistry is a whole language on its own, and then throwing on there that you don't necessarily speak English on top of it, we saw as a really big challenge for our students. So really developing further supports in a class about multilingual chemistry has been a wonderful change for them. And then the last is the Spanish for Spanish speakers class. Many of these students were being placed who are fluent in Spanish, being placed in a Spanish 1 or Spanish 2 course. They're able to speak fluently, but not really able to read and write. So we were seeing that they needed those developmental skills, but when they're going over colors in the days of the week, it just doesn't really seem to add up. So we developed this course for them that really focuses in on those other language skills that they need. I had the privilege of going in and just visiting it the other day, and it was incredible. The students were just so alive, so at peace in this class together, all chattering, but really working on challenging grammar rules and really making sure they understood how to develop those reading and writing skills in their native language as well. So there seems to really be a strong sense of belonging amongst the students. Our multilingual team has really wrapped itself around these kids to make sure they have a wonderful experience here at Indian Hills, and the students spend the rest of the day at Ramapo. And I'm really proud of the work that they've been doing to really become a part of our school community. So that's really it. Thank you. And I have any questions, please let me know. Oh, yeah. Just need a sip of water real quick. Okay. Brian, did you have a question? That's what I thought. Okay.
So my question regarding the 9th grade math testing, what percentage of students are in Algebra 1 versus Geometry versus Algebra 2?
Okay. I have my numbers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, you want.
I'm gonna take the mic back. Perfect. Let me just flip back for you. So we have about 289 students in Algebra 1, and that's our Algebra 1 CP and CPE class combined. So that's about half of the freshman class. And then we have probably, I would say, around 30% more in our geometry class and only like the top 15, 20, 18% in the Algebra 2. So it's definitely at least half of the students in the Algebra 1 component. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. McDermott, for that great presentation and all your hard work. I have a question about the Algebra 2 between the two schools. Is there anything that you can tell us for meeting expectations? It looks like Indian Hills is 60%, Ramapo is 82%. So it's a little bit less at Indian Hills, but then exceeding expectations. Indian Hills has 40% of the Algebra 2 students exceeding and 9.1% of Ramapo exceeding. So is there any information you can give as to why the difference? I just picked that class as an example.
No, it's a good. Sorry. Those are things that we take a deeper dive with the teachers and really see, was there like a unique set of circumstances with this particular class? We track them if maybe they were a part of the UP program. We have 2 UP programs here that the students might be a little bit, they have to have certain math skills to be a part of both. So that usually lends itself to having some stronger math skills here as a 9th grade student. But that's really when the teachers really take a look at the individual students, because there aren't really as many, and can see, we go from there. The other thing that we take a look at are the individual standards of how the students performed, and see if there's a little bit differences there, and then share best practices between the Algebra 2 teachers to say okay, your kids really nailed it on this and mine didn't as much. Is that just performance, or is that a particular lesson that you really liked? And being able to share those best practices for a little bit more consistency across the board. Yeah.
Will you be posting this on the website for the public?
Yeah, so the public can have access to it tomorrow. We'll put it on the site as a PDF document. Yep, of course.
You always save the best for last. I'd be very remiss not to thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication to our students. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McDermott, for all of your help, all of your support, and to all of our teachers who make this all happen, and for the board for their support. So thank you very much. Another round of applause for Ms. McDermott. Thank you for being here tonight. And now I'll ask the board to come back up to the dais, continue with the meeting.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. McDermott, for your presentation. Dr. Dionisio, for all the work the staff, faculty, and administrators put into that. The next item on the agenda is the board committee reports. First up is Ms. Doreen Mariani, Chair of the Athletics, Arts, Extracurriculars, and Communications Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. I have no report because we have not met since the last board meeting. Thank you.
Next is the Education and Personnel Committee, Mr. Tom Bogdansky.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. The Education and Personnel Committee met on October 2nd from 5:30 to 7:30, so we had about a 2-hour meeting, and all committee members were in attendance. The first agenda item was the HIB reporting. The committee reviewed the HIB report, which the district will submit to the state for final grade. We'll also have that posted on our website. The second agenda item was classroom resource, textbook removal. The OG and Natalia textbooks are no longer used and have been in use for 16 years and will now be removed. The next agenda item was scheduling support. To support the district's adjustment to a new school schedule that optimizes learning, wellness, and school culture and enhance the articulation and communication with Flow District, it is recommended to use an outside consultant. Alice Velez specializes in master scheduling, genesis, and building capacity with school leaders to develop a master schedule. The committee supported the hiring of Ms. Velez. The next agenda item was the guidance subject supervisor, updated job description. The goal of the updated job description is to reflect those shifts and responsibilities to support the success of our students and schools. This agenda item had the support of the committee. The next agenda item, Staff Development Coordinator. Over the past several years, the District Technology Staff Development Coordinator has played a pivotal role in the district. The goal of the updated job description is to reflect how the job has transformed and to grow the role from focusing on technology to encompassing all educational practices to support the success of our students and staff. This proposed job description will save the district over $100,000 per year. This had the support of the committee. The next agenda item was flow articulation meetings, special education program presentation. Dr. Moriello and the Special Education Administration with the Flow District Child Study Team and special education teachers to present to the IRH Special Education Program offerings, which will assist in the selection of appropriate programs for the 2024-2025 freshman class. And the last agenda item was parent night presentation. I asked everyone here to please join Dr. Moriello, RIH's Director of Special Education, for a presentation on the 2023-2024 school year's collaboration, communication, and relationship goals on November 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. at Indian Hills Auditorium. Students and parents are welcome. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is Ms. Mariana Emilo, Chair of the Facilities and Finance Committee. Ms. Emilo?
Thank you. The Finance and Facilities Committee met on October 11th. The first agenda item that we discussed was the long-range facilities plan. The committee discussed the proposal sent by our architects to review and update our long-range facilities plan, which has not been updated in 4 years. The committee recommended it be put on the next Board of Ed agenda for board vote. And it's on tonight's agenda. It is OP7. The second agenda item that we talked about was facilities improvements under consideration for 2024. The administration gave priority to several items. The first is wellness suites at both schools. They will be instructional areas for Thrive Mental Health group counseling. The committee discussed the proposals by DeCara and Rubino, our architects, and we're waiting on other capital project proposals from DeCara and Rubino before making any final decisions on 2024 capital projects. This particular proposal for Indian Hills High School, professional fees were $46,250. And estimated construction costs are $562,500. For Ramapo Indian Hills, professional fees are $35,500, and estimated construction costs are $315,000. We are looking at a new snack stand at Indian Hills. We are waiting for additional information, pricing on other options for the snack stand project from DeCara Rubino and the Assistant Facilities Director. We also discussed family and consumer science classrooms. We are waiting for our architect's proposal for improvements to these classrooms at both schools, and the committee asked our business administrator to invite our architects to our next committee meeting on 10/17. We also talked about athletic and trainer room improvements. We are also waiting for the architect's proposal for improvements to these rooms. And again, we asked the business administrator to ask our architect to attend our next meeting so we could talk about it. Ongoing construction. The Indian Hills High School tennis court renovations. The committee reviewed the change order to add French hatch drain to aid in leaf removal at Indian Hills tennis courts, which will cost $2,600, and moved it forward for board approval, and it's agenda item OP1. The committee also reviewed a change order to add a custom saddle extension and vinyl base molding to the walk-in boxes at both schools at the cost of $2,431, and moved it forward for board approval, and its agenda item OP2. The next item was ESIP, our project status. The committee reviewed the most recent status of the energy conservation management projects, which include LED lighting and controls. They are now complete. Energy management systems integration, complete. Freezer thermostat controls, 60% complete. Water conservation, 90% complete. Solar PPA, the solar panel installation cannot commence until roof work is completed. Permits are in progress. Roofing upgrade, 75% complete, and it's targeted to be completed at the end of October. And retro commissioning, $87,540 will be reallocated from the overall contingency balance to the solar landscape budget to upgrade the utilities company's equipment required to properly connect the solar panel infrastructure. Unfortunately, the review of the utility equipment was not conducted prior to board approval of the project and could have been included in the original ESIP cost proposal. The upgrade will cost $387,540,000, and Solar Landscape is absorbing $300,000 within their own contract, and RIH will pay the difference of $87,540 from the ESIP project contingency fund. This is also on our agenda tonight, agenda OP5. The next item is the 2022-23 school year budget. The anticipated surplus on 3/31/23 was $1,292,260. According to our auditors, the actual amount on 6/30/2023 is $4,387,014. Less $1.4 million surplus included in the 2023-2024 budget. Difference of $2,987,000. Surplus over 2% allowable from the 2022-23 budget may be allocated to capital reserve and/or maintenance projects. The committee needs to decide how much we want to allocate to the maintenance reserve and capital reserve. The committee briefly reviewed this information and will discuss it in further detail at our next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting on 10/17 with the full committee present. Curriculum revision budget. The committee is trying to determine how much we need to allocate to curriculum writing for the 2024-2025 school year. The business administrator stated she would ask the curriculum director to advise the committee approximately how many classes are due to be revised next school year, and if curriculum writing could be done in the spring and summer of 2024 to give the community and the board more time to review the proposed curriculum changes. Prep for possible block scheduling unit lunches to our facilities. At the 9/12 committee meeting, this was discussed with Karen Rubino and our facilities director, the possible facilities prep necessary for block scheduling unit lunches. They will provide more information at our next committee meeting. As the chair of the committee, Finance and Facilities Committee, I asked the administration to provide the committee with an in-depth financial budget analysis for the rotating drop scheduling proposal, since there currently isn't one. What is the estimated cost to switch to block schedule? What would it cost to implement, and what would be the additional cost each year to operate it? The impact on our capital reserve fund and to the general operating budget? What exactly would the increased cost be to? For example, a 60-minute common lunch period using gyms and other spaces in the schools to host lunch would require mobile food units, mobile selling stations, and equipment, a crew to convert the gyms into a lunchroom, and back every day. Another example would be to do curriculum writing changes that will need to be made, and other cost factors. I feel we need to know what the financial impact on the district will be. The future 2024 board, the Finance and Facilities Committee, the interim superintendent, and permanent BA will need this information, in my opinion, to make well-informed decisions on behalf of all stakeholders, which include our taxpayers. We will discuss this request by myself in more detail at our next committee meeting with the full committee present. Demographic study with flow districts. The committee received a copy of the demographic study which the Oakland School District recently conducted. The business administrator recommended using the same demographer that Oakland used for consistency and will request a cost proposal. We will discuss this further. The administration will provide an update on conducting a joint demographic study with the other two flow district communities. We will discuss this further at our next committee meeting on 10/17. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're up again next, Ms. Emilo. I don't know if you're ready for the negotiations committee update?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
The Negotiations Committee and our Labor Council met with Mr. Disler, met on October 10th to review the rotating block schedule proposal presentation with Dr. Dionisio, Ms. McDermott, the curriculum director, and Dr. Moriello, the special education director, and raised numerous questions and expressed reasonable concerns. Our committee consensus was we could not endorse, at this time, the block scheduling proposal as is without gaining further necessary information and legal analysis. Some of the genuine concerns raised during the meeting included the impact of this new schedule on negotiations with the RIHEA and the RIHSA, and possible conflicts with contract language in the collective bargaining agreements, and we inquired whether the administration was aware of the union's position on the new proposal. Dr. Dionisio could not confirm to the committee that the union would endorse the proposal. Shortly following our meeting, Dr. Dionisio informed the board that given the divergence of opinion within the board, he decided not to proceed with the recommendation. He stated the responsibility for the schedule proposal will be transitioned to the new interim superintendent and the Board of Ed. In a letter to all RIH colleagues, it also says to provide more time for the district to plan for this initiative. The board is in receipt on October 12th a letter from the RHEA legal counsel. In the letter, the RHEA expressed concerns about moving forward with block scheduling at this time. The board negotiations committee had reached out to the RHEA negotiations team to set up a meeting to address their concerns regarding block scheduling in relation to negotiations. However, it is the board's decision how to ultimately respond to the RHEA's concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That leads to Ms. Kim Anch, Chair of the Policy Committee. Ms. Anch?
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. The Policy Committee met on October 12th. Policy 0168, recording board meetings, is listed on tonight's agenda under P01. The revision to the policy is being made so that the archived board meeting recordings shall be kept on the district website for 2 calendar years instead of 1 calendar year. The committee is recommending approval of a first read tonight. The committee has received guidance from legal counsel on a few other policies and regulations and will review that guidance in order to make revisions at the next policy committee meeting. The next policy meeting is scheduled for November 14th.
All right, thank you so much. That leads us to the public comment portion of the agenda. Public participation will be governed by the following rules. Our participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation if applicable. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration during the public session. All statements, questions, or inquiries shall be directed to the presiding officer, and any questions or inquiries directed by a participant to another board member shall be redirected to the presiding officer, who shall determine if such statement, question, or inquiry shall be addressed by the presiding officer on behalf of the board or by the individual board member. Can I have a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Mr. Bogdansky, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Anch.
Mr. Bogdansky.
Yes.
Mr. DeLate.
Yes.
Ms. Amalo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, the motion passes. We are now in the public comment portion section of the agenda. I see we already have a participant approaching the podium. Thank you so much.
Hi. Michelle Clancy, President of the Ramapo Indian Hills Education Association. The RHEA was never for or against a new schedule. We have a responsibility to protect the jobs and contractual rights of our members. As such, this was our main concern. Unfortunately, we were only made aware by administration of a final decision on a new schedule on Friday, September 29th. This did not allow us time to do our due diligence and analyze the impact of this schedule. The RIHEA has always been and remains in favor of improving the district and working with the Flow community excuse me, to help our students succeed. As such, we remain open to analyzing, discussing, and bargaining any new schedule presented to the district, given the proper time to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see another participant approaching.
Thomas Madigan. I'm the current mayor of Wyckoff, New Jersey. As a past member of this Ramapo Indian Hills Board of Education for over 14 years, I came here tonight to hear about the proposed block scheduling. I hear things are evolving, but I still want to make my comments. Block scheduling had been discussed in the past, and I was curious to hear the proposed advantages for our students in the district updated in 2023. In the past 20-plus years, it was not recommended, block scheduling that is, by the superintendent, the Board of Education, the faculty, or the students. Reasons included course variety, electives, increased financial obligations, scheduling, frequency of class time. The second time it was discussed, block scheduling, these same issues arose, and the consensus was that the district, the Board of Education superintendent preferred to keep the 9-period day. Tonight, I was looking forward to the current ideas on block scheduling and how this would improve our students' academic success. Question I was looking for, or am looking for, or will be looking for in the future is how it works. How enthusiastic are our educators? What's the impact and the input from the community and our teaching staff? Any financial impact, positive or negative, to our taxpayers? And then, as I look at where we are at the end of October, you know, we have a professional situation where we have a lame duck Board of Education with 3 seats up for election in a couple of weeks. We have a current superintendent who will be leaving in November, and I just found that it was just odd that we would be embarking on this journey, particularly at this time. So for the future, I just ask that you consider these comments that I've made. Please focus on getting a new superintendent, along with a Board of Education and our talented teaching staff, so you can thoroughly take the time to adequately listen to and tell us all the advantage and the changes that would be entailed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philomena LaForgia, Oakland. Ms. Sullivan, I was wondering if you could clarify something that Mr. Berdansky said. There is a special education presentation on November something. My question is, why isn't that presentation happening during a board meeting? Why is it not public during a board meeting? Not sure why it's segregated to a special event. And I also want to know if all the board members will attend that meeting. If you could clarify that for me, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Elliot Bannon, Wyckoff. On September 11th, Vivian King and Brian DeLate attempted to remove Judy Sullivan from her position as board president. Conspicuously, no evidence was presented, not a fact, and I thought, is that what we want from someone representing our children? DeLate and King heard the board attorney state a few times their decision could not be arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable. They'd have to present evidence, show cause. Yet they presented none, and the motion failed. And it gets worse. At the next regular board meeting on September 28th, Mr. DeLate gives a speech in which he doubles down on his yes vote. He made a lot of ill-advised accusations. This one's a butte. 349:35 approximately, he assaults Ms. Sullivan for threatening the board with legal action if she didn't get her way. Mr. DeLate should thank Ms. Sullivan since they didn't even know they would have to defend their allegations. Don't believe me? Fact. Board meeting, September 11th, 2:29:15 approximately. And if this buffoonery doesn't convince everyone of how ridiculously unprepared they were considering the serious charges, this fact would be comical. Ms. King declares at 2:29:15 approximately, we're not asking for charges to be brought against Ms. Sullivan. The motion on the table is simply to remove her as president on this board. Here's how ill-informed that statement is. They had a copy of the motion. It listed 4 accusations, Ms. Sullivan violating her duties. How did they not expect they'd have to prove she violated the enumerated items? Well, because Ms. King said, we're not asking for charges to be brought. Which brings us to the more damning indictment. If they were not removing Ms. Sullivan for cause, no charges, and they just simply wanted to remove her, as Ms. King said, Was their brilliant plan to just ignore the dictates of the law? They were going to remove Miss Sullivan without giving a reason and just hope no one would question whether this was arbitrary, capricious, and unreasonable? This is absolute clown school. Mr. DeLate and Ms. King, in their complete, unqualified, ill-equipped, unprepared attempt to depose a board president, are the same people that opine on our school policies and rules. The seriousness of that motion, their complete commitment to it, and their ignorance of the requirements shows how unserious they are about the actual purpose of our board. And it feels like politics. Only the ugly kind, where you try to destroy your enemy. Is this who our children need on the board as a moral compass? DeLate and King are running to sit on this board again this November. Help this district. Vote Geis in Wyckoff and Saunders and Keel in Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes.
Kathy Schwartz, Franklin Lakes. I would just like to clarify a few things to Mr. Bannon's statement and point out that the board has every right to remove someone as the board president. The board president speaks for the board. The board members who brought forth the motion to remove the president had every right to do so. And I believe that's the attorney on the Zoom, although he was not introduced as being a member of the meeting today. Is that you? He actually confirmed that the board members had the right to make the motion and to vote on the motion that evening. So, Mr. Bannon, I know you want to, make it into something very exciting, but it's really not. The board members had the right to do this, and they have the right to choose who speaks for them. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the fence you were on, the motion did not pass that evening. But they had the right to do it. What I actually wanted to talk about tonight was the block scheduling and how incredibly disappointed I am, like Mr. Madigan, that the proposal was pulled before it even got to be presented to the community. And it appears to me, although Dr. Dionisio stated that he pulled it, it appears, according to Ms. Emelo's report, that it was pulled because the board didn't want it. And Ms. Emelo, you made some very different accusations of why the proposal was pulled, that there was controversy amongst the board or something like that, concerns due to disagreement amongst board members. Those discussions should be public. You don't sit in a committee meeting and decide what the concerns are or are not. The entire community had a right to hear the presentation on block scheduling, and it's just a real shame that we didn't get to hear it. You didn't have to vote on it that night. It was a presentation to talk to us, to tell us what it's all about, to let us make our own decisions, and to understand what's going on. The teachers could have benefited from that as well. So it's very disappointing. The last thing I want to say, again in regards to Ms. Emelo's statements under the guise of negotiations, is that negotiations used to be confidential. You don't come up and read to the microphone all of the letters and all of the correspondence that you have with the teachers union. I find that shocking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Let me just check, Mr. Bannon. Does anybody else wish to speak for the first time?
This will be short.
Okay. No, I just have to check.
Elliot Bannon, Wyckoff. This will be very short. I never said they couldn't bring the motion, never commented on that at all. What I said was they had no idea what they were doing. It's an enormous undertaking that they were trying. It affects not only Miss Sullivan, but it affects our district. And they didn't even know there were charges, and they didn't know that they would have to defend them. When you have that, and it's got nothing to do with school. It's got everything to do with what you guys can or can't get along up there. None of my business, though I wish you really could, and I wish everybody. When I first came here, if you were to go back, I'm sure you'd hear, my tone was like, hey, can't we all get along? That's kind of what I thought I'd find here. But I'm seeing such hostility so that there's so much anger, you actually bring a motion that you waste 2 hours on because you don't have the votes. What kind of leadership is that? It's just because you don't, and you don't even know what your motion requires. How can I trust you to understand that you know what policies require? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying let's bring something new here. That's it. Thank you.
Tom Madigan, Wyckoff. This time I'd like to speak on behalf of the residents and the taxpayers of Wyckoff. I'm actually sitting here in the back, bewildered to hear what I heard considering the finances, where the year ended, 2022 year. During the budgeting process, the business administrator, who is no longer here, thank God, lobbied for the necessary 3.3% increase. And he lobbied for it, he lobbied hard, because he said he didn't want any programs cut. Yet the facts are you had a $4 million surplus. So you had a $4 million surplus, and you just increased the taxes 3.3% on top of that. This is an increase that goes to all of our taxpayers, whether you live in Wyckoff, Franklin Lakes, or Oakland. And I just feel that our finance committee and our taxpayers were totally misled and frankly duped. And shame on who's ever in charge of the business administrator and his actions, whether ethical or unethical. I would consider them unethical.
All right, anybody else wish to speak? Can I have a motion to close public comment, and then I'll answer some questions and offer Dr. Dionisio a chance?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Bogdansky. Thank you, Ms. Mariani.
Mr. Bogdansky.
Yes.
Mr. DeLate.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, let me just look over my notes here. There was a question about the November 1 special education presentation. I'm going to leave that to Dr. Dionisio to answer about why it's not in a board meeting, but I don't know if other board members responded, but I am actually planning on attending that night. So I will be in attendance. I don't know, Dr. Dionisio, is it something that should be in a board meeting, or? I thought I saw Dr.
It's a presentation for parents. So the email went out. It's in reference to the school year initiatives for 23-24. It's open to special education parents and students. It will be hosted in the auditorium at Indian Hills. There's an RSVP on that email, and the slide deck presentation and a video of the presentation will be posted on the website. But it's intended for parents. It's not a board presentation. Board members are welcome to attend, but it's not. This is not the appropriate venue. It's for parents.
Got it, okay. There was a question about the surplus. I don't know if the business administrator wants to address the questions by the member of the audience about the surplus and how that all works.
I would not be comfortable speculating about how that number was arrived at or what we have on June 30th.
Okay. The other ones were just comments. I don't think there were any other questions, I don't think. All right, let's see. Next matter is open board discussion on agenda items. I had some questions about the agenda items, but does any board member want to go first? Mine are just small little questions. Anyone have questions about agenda items? Did you? Yes?
No, I wanted to say something about the presentation, but.
You can.
Okay, Ms. Sullivan, I just want the member of the public from Oakland to know that the special.
I don't think your microphone's working.
No, it's on.
Oh, it's on, okay, just go closer.
Okay, I have already RSVP'd to the special education
sorry.
presentation that Dr. Moriello is giving on November 1st.
You're attending?
Yep.
Yes. No questions on the agenda items? I just had a question about the $86,000 that we're short. I guess, is that the right verb? We are short. So this has to do with the ESIP. I forgot the agenda.
What agenda item, Ms. Sullivan?
I'm looking. It's OP6, move to reallocate $87,540 from the ESIP contingency fund balance to purchase additional equipment required by the utility company to connect solar panels to the utility company infrastructure. So I heard what Ms. Emilo said, that there's really a $300,000 or $400,000 cost, and that the solar company is going to absorb the cost. But we have to reallocate from our contingency fund balance, $87,000, in addition to the $300,000 and change. So what does absorb mean? Does that mean that they are going to pay it out of their own funds? Or is that really money that we've already paid the solar company and they're just going to reallocate it within their own budget? Because it's a pretty big number for relatively small company to reallocate funds for. I just don't understand what's happening.
I don't recall the size of the contract awarded to the solar company, so I don't know what scope of the $300,000 is within, but I wish I had that. I don't really know your answer.
You don't know. That's okay, that's fair enough if you don't know.
And I apologize because I should have brought the documentation with me and I did not. We had discussed this at the committee meeting the other day.
I still don't understand. So do you think, and just say no if you don't know, but is it money that we paid the solar company and, they have enough room to reallocate to pay for this connection to make the solar panels work? I understand that there's just a basic connection that doesn't exist for the utility company to make the solar panels work. Or if you don't know, you don't know. I'm just trying to understand it.
I can only, and then I apologize because I could only guess at what it is, but let's say the contract was for $3 million. I don't remember what it was, because this, just for the public's information, this has to do with the solar panels that will be installed once the roofing is completed. But without that, then they had to do a separate analysis by the utility company to make certain the utility company's infrastructure could support the additional solar panels that are being installed. It turns out that the utility company does not have the correct infrastructure, as Ms. Emilo said earlier, to make the connection viable. The utility, when they brought this problem to me, I said to the DCO, the vendor, and the solar landscape, which holds the solar panel contract, that the options that they brought to me could not include any additional out-of-pocket costs from this district, because they are the ones that made the estimate for the entire project. The bonds were sold based on their total original estimates, and so they reallocated. I don't know whether they took less of a profit or what, but I know that they absorbed most of the cost, and then the rest, the $87,000, is from the contingency that is available within the whole fund. I don't know that I do answer you, but they are absorbing it. I don't know whether they're reducing their profit or not.
Mm-hmm. But the district wouldn't suffer any loss in their construction materials or their performance obligations under their agreements, do you think? I mean, I think the architect would have told us that, no?
Correct.
Okay. The architect is on board with this?
The architect is Land Associates, and yes, they have also been involved in this process, in this discussion.
Okay. And I think I asked you in committee, we couldn't call on our guarantee because the guarantee really speaks to saving energy costs, which is too far now to predict yet. It's more about, I guess this was just a mistake. They should have anticipated or.
I hate to call it a mistake because honestly, such a large accommodation should have been anticipated, because you could buy a car, but if you don't have tires, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way I see it, but this is a way to overcome it. Otherwise, we can't implement the solar panel activity.
Right, okay. All right. Oh, and I had a question about the Velez proposal too. I forgot what agenda item that is. This was the one about the consultant that was going to work on the scheduling for the students. So is this contract still necessary because we are not going to do the block scheduling in it? What is it? E13? E13?
It is still necessary because it's not specific to block scheduling. It's in an effort to be able to support our current supervisory and administrative team with support and training over the course of a school year in order to build capacity with our administrators, in order to be able to then have our administrators take care of the master scheduling in-house. If you'll recall, just a little over about a year and a half ago, we had a retirement of a long-standing administrator who was the director of student services. And as part of the pupil services that he oversaw, it was special education and primarily guidance services, and his responsibility for nearly 20 years was the master schedule. So that's a very unique role and responsibility. In an effort to be fiscally responsible, this contribution and investment forward is the most cost-effective way of building capacity within our internal teams in order to avoid having to hire somebody who would be an administrator and specialize in master scheduling, which would cost the district anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 a year. So I think it's money well spent. Should the district in the future decide that you want to move towards a rotating drop schedule or other alternative, then we would be able to, as a district, engage Velez Educational Services to help with that transition as well, should that time come.
So the $24,320 is not anticipated to reoccur every academic year? Is that what I heard you say?
That's correct. That's not the intention.
Mm-hmm. And so they will be training administrators to take on this role of working on the student master schedule?
That's correct.
Okay. I feel like I have all the questions tonight. On the dual articulation agreement with Centenary University, do you know what those courses are, or is it the usual that we always do with them? I know we have some that we always do.
These are the usual. This was an agenda item on the Educational and Personnel Committee meeting back in July.
Can't remember.
Social media marketing.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
right.
Continuation course.
Okay, great.
It's a continued partnership.
Okay. Any other board members have question about agenda items? Dr. Lorenz?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like, I don't know what's going on here. It'll come on at some point.
Can't hear you.
It's not on?
I think we can hear you. Say testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing.
It's not that great, no.
Better?
Yes.
I can hear myself. I'd like to make a motion, Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to cancel the November 13th, 2023 meeting.
Okay.
The interim superintendent will likely be on their first day. Seems wise for us to, given the week before NJEA, seems wise for us to not have that meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, so the motion is to cancel the currently calendared November 13, 2023 board meeting scheduled for Monday. And that's a regularly scheduled meeting. And your reasoning is because it will be the first day of the new interim superintendent, and there's a holiday or NJEA the week before. Okay. All right, going to have board discussion on the motion. Anyone want to be heard on the motion?
Ms. Sullivan, may I be heard?
Yes, Ms. Anch.
I'm not really sure why we'd be canceling any meetings. We have 2 in November and 1 in December. We have 2 in November and 1 in December. And I understand that Dr. Dionisio will be gone on the 12th, but I do believe that when he started here, there was a meeting, I don't know if it was the first day or right away, the first week, but I do believe that meeting went on as scheduled. I don't see any reason to interrupt the business of the board by canceling a previously scheduled meeting.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Just to clarify,
Uh-huh.
as a follow-up to our conversation and Ms. Anch's comments, there was a board meeting on November 8th, 2021, but my official first day here in Ramapo Indian Hills was November 9th. So subsequent to that, there was a meeting 2 weeks later. That was my first meeting.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Emilo, do you want to be heard?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I sent two emails in reference to this when it was brought up by administration, and I said, may I suggest we change the date to November 16th, give the new interim a few days, and it's still 2 weeks apart from our next board meeting. The board still has critical work to do through the end of the year, and to only have 1 meeting in November and only 1 in December is not good. I also said in another email, since Dr. Dionisio is serving the district till the 12th, can the administration prepare and set a draft agenda for a November 16th meeting, send it out to the board on the 8th, and if the interim feels it's necessary to add or change anything, he or she do it in the form of an addendum. I question why should the board stop conducting board business in a timely manner. In my opinion, this hurts the district. It's my understanding that we have never canceled a board meeting when an interim and/or a permanent superintendent was transitioning. And then as chair of 2 committees on this board, I'm against canceling any board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else wish to be heard?
Yes, I'd like to be heard.
Ms. King, yes.
So in years past, when I was both a parent in the district as well as on the board, meetings have been canceled. But I'd just like to say that also in years past, typically the first meeting of the month was a work session, and the second meeting of the month was usually when agenda items were voted on and action was taken. That has turned into something different nowadays because there's so much to be done. However, I have asked whether or not there are any action items that need to be attended to the first meeting of November. It is my understanding that there is nothing emergent that needs to take place before the second meeting in November. Therefore, for continuity of care, as they say in the health field, as well as what is in the best interest of this board. I'm in full agreement in the motion that Dr. Lorenz brought to the table. Thank you.
Anyone else have comments? So I have a couple of comments. Right now, we're negotiating the RIHSA agreement, and I am not in favor of canceling board meetings because I might need my board to make a decision about an agreement. And it is very difficult to get calendars together to have a public board meeting. I also know that the board has to begin the negotiations on the RIHEA, which usually start around December, and given the fact that we received some correspondence indicating that they had concerns about operations, I am against canceling board meetings because I may need my board to make decisions. And to me, this looks political. I think that they want to not have meetings so that this board can't do the work that it was scheduled to be done. It's okay, she can record me. It's a public meeting. It's fine. She's probably timing me. Mrs. King, I have a question. Oh, but before I do that, though, let me finish. So I'm against because we still are negotiating the RHSA agreement, and I encourage my board to think about that. I may need to have you meet to approve or adjust or give us direction in the negotiations committee about what should be done. Also, we are hopefully going to approve the interim superintendent proposal tonight, but then I have to send out the contract, and we have to negotiate that with Dr. Baker. That could come back with some changes or concerns, you never know. And the county superintendent could also have changes or concerns. It has happened to this board in the past that contracts have been rejected that we have sent for superintendents. I need more meetings, not less. I have the NJ SBA conference the week of the 23rd. So let's say the county superintendent has changes or concerns, and I need you guys to meet, and maybe I won't get those changes or concerns by the 30th. So I strongly urge the board to consider that I may need you. I may need you to meet, and I would rather not have to call a meeting. I'd rather have something that's on the calendar already that's planned for. Dr. Dionisio and I did speak last week, and he told me he was making it a light agenda on purpose, which I actually like, because then if I do need the board to meet about these other problems or issues, I don't want to leave the board at risk that we don't have a meeting. Ms. King, how do you know that there was nothing emergent and it was your understanding that there was nothing emergent? How do you know that?
I asked.
Who?
Dr. Dionisio.
I see. And Dr. Dionisio told you that there were not a lot of urgent items that had to be dealt with?
I gave my statement, Ms. Sullivan.
You know, that's very interesting because I have held back board members from talking to Dr. Dionisio because he preferred that the chain of command go through the board president. So I don't know how that information was secured. But in any event, I urge the board to think about this because I may need you. I may need you to have a meeting, especially given all these items that are floating around right now. We don't have a contract approved for the interim superintendent. We don't. So I think it's very foolish to cancel that meeting at this time. Maybe we look at it in a couple of weeks and see how it goes at the October 30th meeting. Would there be any kind of ability to relook at this, Dr. Lorenz? Maybe reconsider your motion?
No.
No discussion, no conciliation.
I made the motion. Is this on? I made the motion. I'm comfortable with the motion. It's not keeping the board from doing board business. It's canceling a meeting. That's all it's doing.
So our board agenda tonight is 22 pages long. That means our board agendas, it's going to be very long on the 30th, I think, maybe. Okay. So, anyone else have any comments, concerns, questions? All right, so let's,
I have one.
Mariani, I'm sorry.
Ms. Sullivan.
Miss Mariani, do you want to?
Oh, sorry, go
Is it
ahead.
okay?
Thank you. I would just say, is there a possibility we could change the date to be a little more convenient with the new superintendent?
It's up to Dr. Lorenz if he wants to consider reformulating his motion. Would you consider making it a different date?
Well, I think any other date just gets us closer to the November 30th meeting, so it defeats the purpose.
I'd like to make a comment. It really doesn't, because if we change it to Thursday, November 16th, that's still 2 weeks apart from the November 30th meeting. So I don't see a problem with that.
I can't.
Because our meetings are usually 2 weeks apart. And then also, on the agenda tonight, P2, it says, the board wishes to give Dr. Baker an opportunity to consult with the current board members, administrators, and board employees prior to him starting his position as the interim superintendent of schools. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves Dr. Baker to provide consulting services for no more than 5 days between the dates of October 17th, 2023 and November 13th, 2023 at the rate of $800 per diem. So I don't see why, I look at that as Dr. Baker collaborating with the superintendent and with the board prior to our November 1st meeting in November. So if an agenda were to be created and Dr. Baker would like to go ahead and make edits, I mean, he is consulting with us for 5 days.
I'd like to say something.
Are
you finished?
Did you want to respond to
sorry.
that, Dr. Lorenz, or no?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Ms. King.
So I don't think it's in the district's best interest to have the interim superintendent create an agenda on 4 days' notice. Our policy right now states that we need to give the packet to the board 5 days before the meeting. That doesn't allow for him to do that. It is not logical to ask Dr. Dionisio to create an agenda when he is not the one following through with the agenda. I therefore think it would be in the district's and the board's best interest, due to the fact that there appears to be nothing emergent that can't wait till the 30th, to just forego that one meeting and move forward with the meeting on the 30th. Thank you.
One of the other things that I think is important for the board to know that I shared with Ms. Sullivan is that any of the items that are scheduled typically that are annual items that would be on for that first agenda meeting in November, my intention is going to be to accelerate those for the October 30th meeting. So then that way we can have a larger October 30th agenda, but until the board figures out how you want to handle this with the transition, make a lighter agenda or give you the opportunity to not have to have a meeting at the beginning of November if you so choose.
So that's just my point. If it's a light agenda anyway, what are we all worried about? And the 5 days could be spread out over the last week in October and the second week in November. Would the board, would Dr. Lorenz consider asking Mr. Baker, Dr. Baker? Would you consider withdrawing the motion to allow us to consult with Dr. Baker?
No.
You would not? May I ask why?
I feel like we're just having the same conversation over and over. I've already made the motion. It's been seconded. There's a discussion. I don't think there's much more left for me to say.
Okay, well, the board's allowed to have discussion about a
Absolutely.
motion. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm allowed
absolutely.
to ask questions.
You certainly are, and I'm allowed to answer no to them.
You are. I just asking you a question if you wanted to ask the interim superintendent. I mean, he is quite experienced. So you don't want to do that either.
That's correct.
Ms. Sullivan, can I say something?
Yes.
I'm not really sure why we're hiring, if it's approved, we're hiring an interim superintendent, and the first thing we're going to do is cancel a meeting instead of asking what he wants to do. I'm not okay with that.
And also, it would be a nice opportunity for him to meet the public on the 13th. All right, Ms. Demetrio, seeing no other comments, can you take a vote on the pending motion, which is to cancel the November 13th Board of Education meeting?
Mr. Bogdansky.
Yes.
Mr. Delay.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
No.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Colacortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
No.
Ms. Anch.
No.
Ms. Sullivan.
No. So the motion passes. The meeting of November 13th is canceled. Dr. Dionisio, the motion wasn't really properly formulated. It should have been to amend the agenda, the published list of meetings. So I'm assuming you will take the appropriate steps to republish the calendar with Mrs. Zeno and whatever else we need to do for public notice. All right, so we were in the middle of board discussion on the agenda items. I didn't see there were any more questions. I'm going to now ask for a motion on the consent agenda. This is just to, well, actually, no, I don't want to do that yet because I guess I could. Well, no. Yeah, we can do you want to do that next? Okay. So Mrs. Zeno announced tonight that she was asking if we could table the minutes of July 24, August 1, and August 28, 2023. Does anybody have an objection? Before I ask for, when we could have board discussion on the tabling. Can I have a motion to table?
I was going to say, someone, Ms. Zeno cannot make that motion.
I know. I'm asking for the motion now. I was just gradually easing people into it. Can I have a motion to table the July 24, August 1, and August 28th meetings? And we can have board discussion once the motion is made, if it's made.
There's no discussion on a tabled motion.
Anybody want to make the motion to table?
Motion to table.
Ms. Mariani, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Anch, thank you. Ms. Demetrio.
Mr. Bogdansky.
So just so I'm clear, this is to table the meeting minutes?
The approval of the minutes for July 24, August 1, and August 28.
So we're tabling them, correct?
Well, we're taking the vote now on that, yes.
Yes.
Excuse me, Ms. Sullivan. I think July 24th we already voted on.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, you just said that was approved.
Are you sure?
Oh, maybe the executive session we voted on already?
Did we? Because I have that one.
Is that your recollection, Ms. Zeno?
I thought it was.
I think that's right. I think we
That's
approved the
correct.
executive, but we didn't approve public.
That
right?
is correct.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, anybody have any other questions about the motion? I don't want people to be confused. All right, so Mr. Bogdansky, what was your vote? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Colacortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, so now I'm going to ask for the consent agenda for P1 through P10, E1 through E17, OP1 through OP7, F1 through F2, and PO1. This is just to have a consent agenda.
So moved.
Oh, and the addendum, I'm so sorry. P13, thank you. P13.
P10.
Okay. That's Dr. Dionisio, misled me. What is it, P13?
P10.
Why does this say P13?
It is P10. I saw the 13 at the top. That's 13 under personnel.
Oh, I
It's
see.
P10.
Okay, so the consent agenda that I just recited is correct. Correct? I said P1 through P10, E1 through E17, OP1 through OP7, F1 through F2, and PO1.
Yes, you included P10, that's correct.
Yes, okay.
Ms. Sullivan, are we just voting?
Just voting to consolidate our vote, yes.
Consolidate,
This
okay.
is just the consolidation, the consent agenda vote. Hmm?
I didn't hear a second.
didn't get a second yet.
Got a second.
Second.
There you
Who made the motion? You
Mr.
did, Tom?
Vivian.
Thank you.
Mr. Bogdansky?
go. Yes.
Mr. Delate?
Yes.
Ms. Amalo?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Colaportis?
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz?
Yes.
Ms. Mariani?
Yes.
Ms. Sanch?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. All right, so now I need to actually take the substantive vote on the consent agenda as approved. I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Ms. Mary, that was Mr.
Mr.
Badowski.
Bogdansky?
Yes.
Mr. Delate?
Yes.
Ms. Amalo?
No to P1 and P2.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Colaportis?
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz?
Yes.
Ms. Mariani?
Yes to everything except P1 and P2.
Ms. Sanch?
Yes to all except P1 and P2.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes to everything except I'm abstaining on C like Charlie, T like Tom, U. Those are subsections of C, sorry. And no on P1 and P2. All right, the consent agenda passes. Where are we now on our agenda? I believe we are in the second public comment, if my memory serves me right. Can I have a motion to reopen for public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bogdansky?
Yes.
Mr. Delate?
Yes.
Ms. Amalo?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Colaportis?
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz?
Yes.
Ms. Mariani?
Yes.
Ms. Sanch?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes. All right, anyone wish to be heard?
Philomena Borgia, Oakland. Back to my original question. The special education, all due respect, Dr. Denisio, but isn't that what board meetings are for parents? We are all parents. This is a district, and we should present special education to all parents, to all districts. I'm very tired of special education being sidelined. And I'm also very concerned that each one of these board members are not attending. I've heard from 2. Now, I think you should add a board meeting specifically for special education and what's happening. I would love to hear Dr. Moriello speak on it, on a broader term. I doubt the presentation is for each individual parent of a special education student. That's what board meetings are about. It's to discuss students, all students. And quite frankly, that's what Vivian is putting on her flyer. Quite frankly, that's what Mr. Delate is putting on his flyer. But yet I haven't heard either one say that they will attend that meeting. So instead of removing a meeting, I think you should add a meeting. And I'm not surprised Vivian voted not to have a meeting because she has said in the past, this is a part-time job. And also, she's been texting with her little chuckle going on, and I want to know what the texts say, because it is a public meeting. And I have opened them before, and there's no messages on the Oprah. So she could sit up there and text all she wants, but as far as I know, it's a public meeting, and everything is public. So what is on that phone that she finds so funny that she could chuckle all night and not include the rest of the community? Answer that, Mrs. Kidd.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Elliot Bannon, Wyckoff, and I'm going to be speaking because I am a resident of Wyckoff to Mr. Bodansky and Mr. DeLate. So Ms. Sullivan said to Mr. Lorenz.
Just direct your comments to me, Mr. Bannon.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You know, could we have some conciliation here? No, absolutely not. It was scheduled for the 13th. Somebody said, would you consider the 16th? Forget needs 5 days. Forget that. It was asked, would you consider the 16th? The answer was, nah, 3 days? Hell, that changes everything. We're 3 days closer to the 30th. Okay. So finally, the question that was asked, would you consider asking Dr. Baker, the one man who could actually tell you, you know what, I would like some extra time. Or you know what, I would love to meet everybody. The one thing that you could have said yes to was, yeah, why don't we ask the actual man we're allegedly doing this for, the person who actually it's allegedly supposed to be affecting. The one person who can give us that answer, we get a no. And I don't even know why the people from my town, I just want to hear from my town their reasoning. Because I mentioned before that I thought politics were getting involved. And I said again, when I first came here, I just wanted to see a group of people work together because I thought it would be great. And because I was so tired of what was going on in the real world in politics, I thought this would be a respite. This would be my place where I could see people who disagree get along. Instead, could you ask Mr. Baker? It only affects him. Why would we ask him? And then no explanation for your votes. And I live in your town. I just want to hear from my guys. I'd like to hear why they said no, because it's so crazy. It just smells of politics, and I wish it didn't, and I hope I'm wrong. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Karen Nash, Franklin Lakes. I remember last time I was here, I said I wasn't coming back for a while because I just can't take it. It's just so stressful being in the audience. But I do want to say one thing. There are some of the people here that are running in a few weeks for some of your positions out there. And what Elliot just said is so true. It has become so political that it's obvious. But for the people that are running, I hope that they do something a little bit different. If they win, from what I see up here, you forgot about the town's people and the town's kids. You've made this about yourselves. Every single one of you forgot about your constituents. They voted you in to speak for them, not you. So why is this going by your opinions and not what you were voted in for? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Cynthia Phillips, Wyckoff. I echo what the last two people said, and I am from Wyckoff as well, and I just want to let the people of Wyckoff know that Mr. DeLate sent a letter to our community with overloaded, unfounded assumptions, exaggerations, and baseless claims, not backed up at all by any evidence. And it really is kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. Mr. DeLate is misleading the Wyckoff community with campaign signs that are red because he knows that we're largely conservative. Mr. DeLate, his registered donations to political groups are all Act Blue, all 2020 Act Blue, Act Blue. So that's not a conservative organization. You also voted for a curriculum that is not fair or balanced and has an abundance of ideology and gender theory and pronouns. You also have adopted text from your opponent, and you started using words like prioritizing education and added parental rights when you started your ad campaign on Facebook. You also wrote in your flyer that you promised to partner with the district to fix areas we believe do not support our community values. Whose values? Certainly not conservative ones. Mr. DeLate also said he is a sitting minority board member. The truth is, Mr. DeLate was in the majority when he voted no to hire a full-time superintendent. On August 28th, he refused to vote on that same item against the noted recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Mr. Dionisio. Mr. DeLate was in the majority when he voted no to posting an internal notice for the interim superintendent. Mr. DeLate was in the majority when he voted no on board comments shutting down other board members from speaking, in fact, infringing on their freedom of speech. Tonight, Mr. DeLate was also part of the majority once again. So vote wisely, Wyckoff.
Hi, Kathy Schwartz, Franklin Lakes. When I went to New Jersey School Board's training way back when, one of the things they always talked about was unity on the board, and one of the most important votes that the board makes is to bring in a superintendent. And I think it's incredibly discouraging to see that the people who sat here and said we should respect the incoming superintendent and his wishes about the board meeting all voted no for him. And so bringing in a superintendent with a 5-4 vote is not good for anybody. And to that end, I think it's a really smart thing that we didn't bring in a permanent superintendent right now, because bringing in a permanent superintendent with a 5-4 vote would be horrible. What would that person expect from this district? It would be fighting all the way. No one will come here and feel that a superintendent that's going to come here is going to want to feel that they're going to be supported. So I think that vote was very, very disappointing. With regards to the canceling of the meeting, Ms. Emelo read out some emails that she wrote about canceling the meeting, and so it appears that there was a lot of discussions going on about canceling the meeting behind the scenes. Once again, not in public, behind the scenes, and we're confessing to it in public and telling the whole public about the emails. That's not appropriate. That's not the way that business is supposed to be conducted. The business of the board is conducted in public. I had one other thing I wanted to talk about. The last thing I wanted to talk about, sorry, Ms. Emelo, but once again, the Finance Committee report that you presented budget surplus numbers, and when questioned, the business administrator did not understand or know or talk to those numbers. And I don't understand how the Finance Committee had surplus numbers that the business administrator doesn't know about. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know why you would publicize numbers like that if the business administrator wouldn't feel confident answering questions about them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Eng from Wyckoff. I just want to thank Ms. Emelo for your detailed report. I know you're on 2 committees, so that's a lot of work. So thank you very much for your time and effort. And as far as speaking off the board, the fact that Ms. Sullivan there was an attempt to take her down a couple of weeks ago, I believe there was some discussion behind the scenes. It looks like as if there was a lot of colluding with some of our board members. But that's not the reason why I'm here. I'm here because I received a very disturbing letter written to evoke and incite alarm and fear in the community of Wyckoff. What was disturbing was the amount of unfounded assumptions and basically falsehood. I've been attending all the meetings and I've been seeing what's going on. And from this letter, this was a campaign letter from Brian DeLate. He blames other board members for the issues on the board. And these are just some of the points he made. I'm not going to read all of them. He says that teachers and staff are departing at unprecedented rate and overall morale is low. I haven't heard anything. Maybe he has. But he's not on the personnel committee. And could it be that the staff departure and the morale is related to the low enrollment at Indian Hills? That's one of the issues that he did say he was going to address last November at his interview, and he has not mentioned it at all this year that I have heard. He also blamed other board members and said they caused the second attorney to resign after 3 months. In fact, it was Mr. DeLay and also Ms. King who complained about the Bush law group's competencies in public. And they even indicated in their letter of resignation that they had witnessed a marked degradation in the level of civility, trust, and respect that the board members have shown one another. And also, he mentioned that they fired our board counsel. That seems to come up every single time. I don't know what is the attraction about Steve Fogarty. Really, his contract was not. His contract was just not renewed. He still works for the district. And then the evidence that he indicates that it's because of personal vendetta. Where is the evidence for that? I mean, this was such an insightful letter. He talks about skyrocketing legal fees. Ms. Sullivan, I think, gave a very detailed account of where those legal fees were coming from. And a good amount of it was coming from union negotiations, bids, contracts, and also a bunch of Oprah requests. But if I can just finish my last sentence, I'm not done. Just one thing. It was a poorly written letter designed to incite alarm.
You can come back up if
Okay,
no one
sure.
else wants
I'll
to
wait.
speak, so you can finish, Ms. Ang.
Philomena LaForgia, I'd like to do a quick timeline. So on August 23rd, 2023, there was a board meeting that 5 members did not show up. I actually never asked, out of those 5 members that were no-shows, who actually did not respond to the meeting, and Mrs. Sullivan told you that was not showing up. I think it's very important to know who disrespected the process. Then on, August 29th, Vivian King said that we have a plan. What that plan was amongst the majority, the new majority, clearly, but that didn't come to discussion in front of anybody, as Mrs. Schwartz constantly says, that it should be in the sunshine. That's the sunshine law. But Vivian said she had a plan. I don't know what the plan is. I guess the plan was to get an intern superintendent, which happened tonight, I guess. But 4 members said no to it. So, and my understanding is that this plan was in haste. There should be a unanimous forward of a superintendent. That's a unanimous board. When you pick a leader that you all like, we all picked Dr. Denicio. We all unanimously picked him. To sit up here and pick someone that not everybody is in agreement with is really pretty sad. But it also shows of the haste that was brought on in 828. Why isn't a search firm in place? There's a shortage of good people. That is not a secret. It took us almost a year to find Dr. Denicio with a service. I don't understand the plan. And if the plan was to get an intern superintendent, why isn't there an agenda item tonight saying that you're moving forward to find a permanent superintendent? I have to say, it is about politics. Like Elliot said, it's okay for you to pass the baton. The process can start now. Why it's not starting now is really kind of sad for the students and the district. It takes a while to find good people. You're making hastily decisions based on political agenda. Yes, November is coming, and I don't know who's going to fill those seats. I know I'm making my greatest attempt to prove that someone should not be there. But that should not stop the board. Move forward. Where's the agenda item to move forward? 4 people don't want this person to come. I don't even know why I would come if that was him. I'd resign tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Oh, Ms. Ang, yes. Do you want to finish?
I just had one last comment about the letter. There was one part of it that kind of rings true for me, and that is the opening statement. It says, "The board has been taken over by a majority that is not interested in ensuring that the schools are well run, which is the job of every school board member in New Jersey. Instead, they are inserting politics and their own agenda to tear down the award-winning reputation of the Ramapo Indian Hills School District." Well, Mr. Delate, you are in that majority.
Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, can I have a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Ms. Hanch, thank you.
Mr. Bogdansky.
Yes.
Mr. Delate.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, so I'm reluctantly going to do this because I wasn't aware that a motion was going to be made tonight to cancel the November 13th meeting, although I did send an email around to the board asking if any walk-in motions were going to be made, but I received no response. So I'd like to make a motion to put out an RFQ to hire a permanent search firm in light of the fact that now I only have 3 meetings left through the end of the year. Dr. Dionisio gave his resignation, I think, I can't remember now, July, August. And so I don't want to wait July, August, September, October, November, December before we get started. So I'd like to make a motion to put out an RFQ to start the effort to hire a recruiting firm to assist the board in retaining a permanent superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Anch. Anybody have comments? Board discussion?
I have something to say.
Yes, Ms. King.
The term lame duck board was used a few times. I don't believe that this board should have their hands in anything having to do with choosing a permanent superintendent. I believe that that's something that should be left for the next people. Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Sullivan?
Anyone else? Ms. Mariani?
I've never been in this process of hiring a firm to do this, but I would assume that it's not something that's going to be done in a month or 2. And I know I've heard from quite a few board members that they want to wait until December or January, and I just feel like that's a waste of time. So I think it would be smart, reasonable to move ahead with that process now.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
Ms. Anch?
I'd agree with Doreen Mariani. Even though it's a lame duck board, putting out an RFP to hire a search firm to get started in what might take 6-8 months, a year, maybe a year and a half, does not mean that the lame duck board will be deciding on who the new permanent superintendent will be.
Ms. Sullivan.
Mr. Bogdansky.
Can I
sure.
be recognized? Thank
Of course.
you.
Mhm.
First, I want to apologize to Dr. Dionisio for the amount of abuse and harassment I witnessed today. Beyond fathomable. And I think one of the reasons why we want to wait, or at least why I want to wait, is the conduct that I see in board members and how they sit and say things to our superintendent that are awful. I can't even put into words what I experienced today. And that, Dr. Dionisio, I'm very sorry, truly sorry.
Anyone else want to be heard on the motion? Ms. Demetrio? Oh, sorry. Ms. Emilo, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that I agree with the comments that Ms. Mariani and Ms. Anch and yourself have made. I don't see any reason, good reason, to go ahead and wait till the new year, or as Vivian would say, until after the election, to hire a search firm, because it could take a very long time to find a permanent superintendent, and the right one, for our district. And so I don't see any reason. I think it hurts the district.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Kolokordis, yes.
I asked back in, I believe it was the end of April, beginning of May, for this board to find unity. I asked that everybody, the public, the fellow board members, everybody, come to some sort of solution to get along and try to move this district forward. I agree with Mr. Bodansky, the lack of respect for Dr. Dionisio. Miss, why is that acceptable?
It's not. Could
It's
you
not?
please-
Then why don't you say something?
I just was reaching over, and I
Oh,
was
I
just about
see.
to say.
Oh, I didn't, Kim, thank you. Okay, so let me finish. How's that?
Let her have the floor,
Good.
please, uninterrupted.
So, now I don't remember what I was saying. Okay, so Dr. Dionisio, even though some people find it comical, has been extremely disrespected. Yeah, he has. And that's why he's probably leaving. So we are in this position because of the public and people on this board. And so, no, I do not think that we should move this RFQ forward. I think it needs to wait until January to give the new board the opportunity to find the replacement.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Again, with public comments.
Public, please. You're making me very uncomfortable, so please don't laugh. Let the board members speak. Board members let the public speak uninterrupted. Was there a hand up over here?
I have a comment.
Ms. Emilo, yes.
I totally disagree with Ms. Kolokordis and Mr. Bodansky's. It's an opinion. And I know that I've never disrespected anyone in the administration, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'd like to speak.
Yes, Ms. Marianne.
I just wanted to go on record that if asking questions is disrespectful, then maybe I was disrespectful, but I don't believe it is. I think that's our job on this board. And some people on this board just do not want to hear an opinion other than their own. And during meetings, in executive and, committee meetings, simply asking questions is what our job is. And at no point was I disrespectful at all.
Thank you. Ms. Kolokordis, yes.
So on January 5th, when the 5 majority members walked in motions, when you were here for the first time as board members, not knowing what was going on in the school district, what was happening, you walked in motions. That wasn't disrespectful to the superintendent and to the fellow board members that you were about to work with for a year? No, huh?
Ms. Sullivan, may I be recognized?
Yes, Mr. Bogdansky, sure.
I take this board position seriously, and what I've witnessed over the past several months has really affected me in a very negative way. As I sit here today, I know I can say that I've learned a lot, have grown, and feel more confident since my term began in January. I made mistakes, and I apologize. I am able to step back and see things in a very different light today. Many things have unfolded in the past few months. Although I appreciate each board member in different capacities, I do resent the way I was misguided, misled, manipulated from day one by a person who believes she mentored me, by a person who is supposed to bring board members together, by a person who should put personal agendas aside and do what is best for our students. On September 11th, a motion to remove Ms. Sullivan as president was put on the table. As I sat and watched the 2-hour fiasco, I knew that removing Ms. Sullivan as president would not make things better, but in fact, it would cause more problems. We would have to deal with a trial the very next day. Not only would we incur more legal fees, but we would also lose the focus and time we need to search for a BA and superintendent. Our Board of Ed has been a disgrace. We have made very harmful decisions based on personal agendas. We have spent these months doing more harm than good, and it will take us a long time to repair the damage that's been done. I am looking forward to new leadership come January. A leader that will bring the next board together so we can focus on the students. Now keep in mind, 10 months, 2 law firms gone, BA gone, superintendent gone. What have we done for the students? It's time we wake up and do the right thing. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, can I be heard?
Yes. Mhm.
I just want to say that if asking questions, expressing concerns, pointing details or, different things out is being disrespectful, then if someone thinks that's disrespectful, that's on them. I was not elected to be a rubber stamp, and I will not be a rubber stamp, and if that is considered disrespectful by some, then so be it.
Ms. Sullivan, to be recognized.
Yes, Mr. DeLate, sure. Mhm.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Dr. Baker to our district as the interim superintendent. Dr. Baker's appointment is the first step in the board's effort to rebuild what it managed to single-handedly tear down in the first 7 months of this year. It's a small but important step. Still in front of us lies the search for a full-time superintendent and the full-time business administrator. We started 2023 with both of those positions filled with high-quality people, but it didn't take long for board leadership's micromanagement to prompt their departures. Ever since January 5th, we have witnessed, and the district has fallen victim to, a board that has overstepped the boundaries between oversight and overrunning school administration. I hope the board has learned a valuable lesson from their scorched earth decision-making so that we can get back to the business of focusing on what is in the best interests of the students. Thank you.
There's still a motion on the table, right?
There is.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
just
I know.
checking.
Yeah, there is. Mhm.
Let's vote.
So I have some comments on the motion that's pending, and it's kind of weird because some of the comments are not really relative to the motion, but Mr. Bogdansky, you made the motion to table the ESIP. You made the motion not to renew Mr. Fogarty. Oh, actually, you supported that motion. And you also supported the motion to hire a new firm, which was the Bush Group firm. And then you chaired the committee to find the second law firm. And so I'm shocked that you're saying that all those decisions or motions were somehow misguided, or you were not really clear about what you're doing. So how do I know you're not clear now? How do I know? I'm confused. So I'm not really sure why the change of heart. It seemed to me that you changed your mind soon after the board had tried to come up with a suggestion to hire a public communications firm to help in the disparity between the two schools, and no other board member or committee has ever made any other proposal to help that. And then when one of the committees made that suggestion, I actually held it back because Dr. Dionisio said he wasn't ready. That was respectful. And then the committee decided to try to go forward with it after some time because nothing else was forthcoming in their view about the disparity. That was for students, Mr. DeLate. But you called the vendor the day of the motion, Mr. DeLate, and you deep-sixed the proposal, but you have not yet made another proposal to address the disparity since. You sit there and you criticize every other committee's proposals. You don't chair any committee. Ms. Emilo chairs 2 committees. Ms. Mariani chairs 1 committee. Ms. Ann chairs another committee. People are doing double and triple duty. They're also on negotiations, which you resigned from. Yet you think it's okay to come here and mislead the public and say that all of these decisions were misguided and it's scorched earth. But where are your proposals to help the students? Why is it canceling a meeting is in the best interest of the students and you won't even ask Mr. Baker? And it matters not that it's a lame duck board. This lame duck board was going to propose block scheduling. But it's not okay just to put out an RFQ, which will take about 30, 40 days anyway to get responses. And then by the time those responses come in, it'll be the holidays. And so January will be the time that we actually consider the applications for the firms. So what decisions will be made other than a routine description of the firm that would help the board in searching for a permanent superintendent? I don't know, we have 4 new board members on here. I don't know that they appreciate how much work this is. It is a ton of work, and the sooner you start, the better. So now we're gonna let 6 months go by and do nothing. Not even go out to see if we can get bids. Nothing. And you've canceled the meeting. And you have board members that are doing double duty up here, begging you to consider some of their proposals, begging you to maybe look for a permanent superintendent. But it's just no, no, no. But there's nothing offered. There's no ideas offered. We come with ideas, and it's, no, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And the reason why that firm quit, in my view, is because of what they said. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. They did not trust Brian DeLate, they did not trust Mrs. King, and they did not trust Dr. Lorenz.
That's a slander.
And that's what they said to me. And I will testify to that under oath in any court, in any day, at any time. So I encourage the board to rethink this idea. Now that we've got a canceled meeting, we can't even really look at the proposals, maybe till December or January anyway. And I find the hypocrisy of the lame duck argument preposterous, that you would be willing to start the block scheduling discussion, but you wouldn't be willing to even look for a permanent superintendent, which should be your focus right now. It should absolutely be your focus. So if there's no other comments, Ms. Demetrio, can you take the vote on the pending motion?
I have another comment.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Ms. Emilo?
Just want to remind everyone that a lame duck board approved the ESIP last year, and a lame duck board also appointed 2 new members to the board last year and the year before when other members resigned. So I don't think it's a good excuse to go ahead and say that it's a lame duck board, and that's why we can't go ahead and hire a search firm. I think it's hypocritical too.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ms. Demetrio?
Mr. Bogdansky.
No.
Mr. DeLate.
Nope.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
No.
Ms. Koulikortis.
No.
Dr. Lorenz.
No.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, the motion does not pass. The board cannot go out for an RFQ to hire a search firm for a new permanent superintendent. All right, so any other board comments at this time?
I have one.
Yes, Ms. King?
It has been a trying few weeks. After seeing the amazing presentation by our administration about the block scheduling rollout, I found myself feeling inspired by the new things to come for our students. I was feeling renewed, knowing that Dr. Dionisio, even though his time with us was quickly expiring, was still moving our strategic plan forward. The strategic plan that he, along with our community, students, and our administration, had worked so hard to put together. The RIH strategic plan that was presented to the community after a full year of town hall meetings, small group collaborations, team meetings, brainstorm sessions, committee and administration discussions. And now it would appear that once again, a few members of this board feel it is their obligation to disrupt the forward progress of our district. And through their disruption, have caused the superintendent to pull block scheduling from the agenda this evening. This is all so disturbing for me. Over the last few weeks, I have heard from members of the community, and they have expressed to me how they are concerned about the movement that appears to have made its way to our Flow District's front door, and that is the book banning movement. We on this board have received emails regarding the same initiative. I believe the term the author of one of the emails used was that these books do not align with the values of our conservative community. I do not know what it's going to take to make the public understand. We are on the precipice of bad things to come. The fear-mongering at people's front door, the propaganda being dispersed on social media, and now inside people's mailboxes. This is not 1939 Germany. However, in thinking about what came out of that perilous time, I am reminded of the poem by Martin Niemöller. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. How much longer are we going to wait, watch, and do nothing to combat the lies, fear, and misinformation? We are at that point. Make no mistake. Hitler and other dictators throughout history were elected in democratic elections. History is repeating itself in many small towns throughout this state. We have lost sight of what the boards of education are actually meant for. We have an opportunity to do the right thing. We have an opportunity to instill calm and sanity to the district. We have an opportunity to stop the hemorrhaging of money to legal counsel and instead put the money back into the classrooms. We need to do better. We need to be better. It must start now. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other comments? All right, seeing none. I'm sorry, Miss Mariani. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you. First, I'd like to say, Ms. Cool-Cortis, I would love it. I would love nothing more, like truly, than for everyone to get along. But I know you heard at the last, not tonight, but not a previous executive meeting when Ms. King told one of the board members to zip it. And then she told me, you're spoiled. Completely uncalled for, completely, in my mind, rude. So it's very hard to be respectful when someone is so disrespectful. And I've been dealing with this for months now, and I think it's horrendous. I'd like to read something. Get it off my chest because it's been bothering me. At the August 1st meeting, Ms. King said to me, Ms. Mariani, you forgot to talk about false police reports. You also basically made a statement talking about, when people tell jokes about people of color, this offshoot people of color jokes, or people who are Jewish, and then go and say, well, some of my best friends are Jewish. So I think that your statement pretty much shows that you're a bit out of touch. That is an outright lie. I've never been in your presence. I've never said that. Actually, I've never said that in anyone's presence. I do not feel that way, and you made up a lie. You said it in public, and I want everyone to know that it was untrue, and it's just a little more bullying by you. I actually think I deserve an apology. Otherwise, you can, I don't know, find a public tape that shows me saying that, which I never would. There are people in this audience, well, at least there were, that I grew up with, and they know me, besides my husband, obviously. I would never say that, ever, ever, ever. And I just feel so bothered by that, literally since August 1st when you said it. It just was so wrong, so wrong. You literally made up a statement and said that I said that. I deserve an apology because that was wrong. And I'd like to go on. Whoops. When it comes to the block scheduling, I never said I wasn't for it. There are a lot of things about it I liked. I just had a few questions. And then I remember looking into it. I read something online, and I thought it was really, for me, it kind of spoke to me. It says, since the theory offered in support of block scheduling is contrary to a huge body of data and experience with the spacing effect, it is fair that we approach block scheduling with skepticism and demand hard data of its success before we get on the bandwagon. If someone said that sitting on shiny crystals was more effective than antibiotics for treating an infection, we would be right to demand hard data of success before abandoning the established treatment. The crystal sitters have the burden of proof, yet we find many irresponsible advocates of block scheduling telling concerned parents that the burden is on them to prove that block scheduling doesn't work. And naturally, no study will be good enough to change their minds. I'm not saying I'm not for block scheduling. I just had questions. And it wasn't me or my committee that pulled it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, Ms. King?
I'd like to address the accusation that Ms. Mariani just made. I never said that you said that. I was making an analogy. There's a difference. You had made a statement about canceling or rescheduling the Board of Ed meeting because of the Jewish holiday and moving the meeting out one day. And you also said that you had hoped that we all enjoyed our holiday. It was a very somber holiday. It was a day of atonement. It's not something you enjoy, just so you know. And I made a statement, an analogy to the effect of what you said was tantamount to making a joke and saying, oh, but I can say that because all of my friends are Jewish. I didn't say that you said that, so you misunderstood me. So there was a misunderstanding. People can go and watch the tape, but I never said that you said that. So I'd just like to clarify that.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
If anyone would like to watch the tape, because that is what she said, it's at the 8-1 meeting, and it's at the 2.12.45 mark. You could hear it for yourself. Not right. And I don't think you could call me spoiled, because you don't even know me.
Okay, you also made a comment that you could fill an entire auditorium of people who don't like me. So, no, that was Mariana. But you said that at one point in public, and might I remind you that executive conversations are privileged and should not be discussed in public, so I'd just like to remind you of that. But regardless, you did make a statement in public of, everyone likes me, just ask anyone. No one wants to work with you, Mrs. King. No one likes you. You did say that at a meeting. So, you know, we can go tit for tat, it's fine, but that's not what people are here to see, okay? People are here to see us do the business of the board. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm done now, okay? You can say what you want. You can say, I said this, I said that. But if you want to have the last word, go right ahead, because I'm done.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Okay. I said I'm not used to people not liking me. That's what I said. Those were my words. I am not used to people not liking me. If that makes me spoiled and you think you have the right to say it, so be it, because I can't change your mind. But it was inappropriate. So was Zip It.
Ms. Sullivan, could I be recognized?
Yes, Mr.
I'm just hoping we could start to be adults now. And let's move forward and move on. I know we're in high school, but we're on the board. We're not in high school. Thank you.
So you mean, Mr. Bogdansky, when you say that you were misled and that you were misguided and not mentored and that there were personal agendas and that you were threatened, I think you said, I could be wrong, that's not high school?
I so want to change my vote.
I'm sorry?
I so want to change my vote.
Motion to close the meeting. Motion to adjourn.
You so want to change your vote.
Motion to adjourn.
I see.
I still have comments.
Ms. Emilo, yes, you're recognized.
So I have different things here. So I will be attending the special education meeting. I just haven't RSVP'd to the invite. Also, the question about the surplus that I said in my board report, that information that I read was put in our agenda for a committee meeting by Ms. Zeno. Am I correct? Okay. So I did not speak of anything that wasn't given to me by our business administrator. So I went ahead and I'm letting the public know what the data is, what the information is. Also, I haven't forgotten about my Wyckoff constituents. I never do. I speak on their behalf, on your behalf, every decision I make. I put an immense amount of thought. I do a lot of research. I read everything very thoroughly. I make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed before I make a decision. And I take my responsibility very seriously, because that's what I was elected to do, and I'm proud to be sitting up here on behalf of my Wyckoff community. And I'm doing exactly what I ran on in my election, every single thing. If you look back at what I ran on, my platform, and what I put out there in all the communication, I'm doing exactly what I ran on. So the people who voted for me, which was a lot of people, I believe have faith in what I'm doing, that I am carefully considering every resolution put in front of me, and I always put the students at the center of all the decisions that I make. And if I ask questions, and a lot of questions, because I ask a lot of questions, I ask on behalf of the Wyckoff community that voted for me. Now, if that's considered disrespectful, I don't know. And if I can't say no to something on the agenda, then I don't know what I'm here for. I guess I'm just here to do grunt work, like for free, because this is a volunteer position. This is a lot of work. I'm chairing 2 committees. I literally have meetings like multiple times a week. Chairing the negotiations committee is definitely a lot of work. Numerous, I can't even count. I've lost track of how many meetings we've had this year. And we negotiated a successful agreement within a few months. But I don't know, I don't hear any thank you from anybody else on this board. Did anybody say thank you? Oh yeah, that's great. I don't know, it's a lot of work.
I did.
Okay, well, it's a little too late.
No.
I'm sorry. It happened a while ago. I mean, you know, I don't expect...
She has the floor, Mr. Bogdansky.
What I'm saying is that I always put the students at the center of all my decisions that I make, but I also take into consideration why people voted for me. I am extremely protective of parental rights, and that is important to me as well, for sure, 100%. And I will, I don't agree with Mr. DeLate's and Mr. Badansky's statement. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Zeno? This is board comments.
Yeah, Ms. Emilo is correct that the numbers provided to her regarding the surplus were provided by my office. They did come from the auditor. The reason I said earlier that I would not speculate on how the estimates were made during the budget process was because I was not here. It wasn't my budget, and so I don't know how those numbers were estimated. What I can tell you is that collectively as a committee, we're looking very closely at all the accounts that are what I call outliers, and we have 2 that need a lot of attention, and we'll be short on those 2 accounts. And again, the committee and I are monitoring those accounts.
Thank you so much.
I just have one more comment. It's a quick one.
Yes.
I just want to repeat, our negotiations committee consensus on block scheduling was we could not endorse at this time the block scheduling proposal as is without gaining further necessary information and legal analysis. It's not that we would never endorse it. It's just that we wanted further necessary information. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, the anticipated future meeting dates are now changed from the paper agenda that you have because the board canceled a meeting tonight. So the next one is Monday, October 30th, a regular public meeting at the Ramapo High School cafeteria. And then we won't have another meeting until Thursday, November 30th at the Ramapo High School cafeteria. Can I have a motion to adjourn this Monday, October 16th, 2023 regular public meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bogdansky.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Anch. It was Ms. Anch, but whatever.
Mr. Bogdansky.
Yes.
Mr. DeLate.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
Yes.
Ms. Anch.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. All right, thank you, everyone. Good night.